Hello everyone, this is Aaron Fitch from ATF Gaming and welcome to the 2018 NASCAR predictions video where I will go over 10 things that I think will happen in the 2018 NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. Now, I am strictly limiting this to the Cup Series because we really don't know who's even going to be driving in the Xfinity season and the Truck Series this year yet. So I'm just gonna put that off to the side. If more news comes out in the coming weeks, and I might make a separate predictions video for that. But we're gonna limit this to the 2018 Cup Series and 10 bold, and some not so bold predictions that I think will happen this season. And the 10th prediction is my championship prediction. So I would stick through the whole video and stick it out and see who I think will win the 2018 Cup Series Championship. Now, if you are new to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you do go over and hit that red subscribe button. We are on the path to 1,000 subscribers so that I can reach the new YouTube monetization threshold. So I would really appreciate any new people hitting that subscribe button and helping me possibly reach the new YouTube threshold so I am not removed from the partner program. But without further ado, we have prediction number 1. All Hendrick Motorsports drivers will win a race. So let's review. Hendrick Motorsports has had a lot of changes this year. The 4 drivers for Hendrick Motorsports are Jimmie Johnson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Alex Bowman. Now, obviously, Jimmie Johnson has won a race in almost every season since he has entered the Cup Series. So I predict that that will continue. Chase Elliott has been extremely close, and I think he's going to get over the hump now. William Byron, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people this year. But really, the expectations for William Byron are all across the board. Nobody really knows what to expect for sure. But I expect he's at least going to win one race and make it into the chase. Now, the 4th driver, Alex Bowman, he's probably a guy not many people are going to expect much out of this season. He has the tall order of replacing the most popular driver in NASCAR for the last 10 to 15 years, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and honestly, that team was not that fast last year. But I think he's going to come in hungry. He's done a lot of testing for Chevrolet, which means he's going to be familiar with the new body, the new Chevrolet body, a lot more than some of these other guys are because he's done so much testing over the last year. So I think that he's going to have a leg up. But it's still going to be hard for him. But remember, when he replaced Junior, when he got injured 2 years ago, he almost won Phoenix. So there are some racetracks that I think he could do really well at. And, of course, there's always the restrictor plates. So I think he's going to get a win, probably only one win. But I think he's going to get a win and make it onto the chase, which means all 4 Hendrick Motorsports drivers will win a race and be in the chase for the Monster Energy Cup Series Championship in 2018. Prediction number 2. Stewart Haas Racing will struggle this year. Now, there was a big deal made out of Ford being slower than Toyota last year with Toyota's new body. And now Chevrolet has a new body. But Ford does not have a new body. Last year, Kevin Harvick was the only really successful Stewart Haas driver. Clint Bowyer had some successes, and Kurt Busch won the Daytona 500, but then just fell off the map the rest of the year. I think that trend's going to stay. Now, obviously, Eric Almirola is going to insert into the picture, so I believe that 10 car will be a lot more competitive than what it was with Danica Patrick, but I still think Stewart Haas Racing as a whole will struggle with the old Ford bodies. And I think even Kevin Harvick's going to be struggling this year. So I think as a whole, Stewart Haas Racing is going to struggle this year. And hopefully going into 2019, Ford will get a new body ready. Because if you look at the 3 bodies, Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford, Toyota and Chevrolet, they have a lot of aerodynamic differences. Ford is just a rounded front. But Chevy and Toyota have a lot of really different aerodynamic things around where the lights would be on a regular car. And I think that's what helped Toyota have such a dominant season last year. And I think Chevrolet is going to have a similar impact this year. So I think Ford is really going to be behind in the game. And really, the amount of Ford teams has gone down drastically. There's really Stewart, Haas, Roush Fenway, Penske. Those are the only big Ford teams. There's still Front Row Motorsports, but really all the other small teams are either Chevrolet or Toyota now. So there's a lot less Ford drivers. So I think Stewart Haas is going to struggle this season. Moving on, number 3. There are going to be 16 different winners this season. We have gotten close to maximizing the amount of winners that we have to reach the threshold of 16 drivers in the chase. But we haven't gotten there yet. But I think this year, there is so much uncertainty. Nobody knows what's going to happen. There's so many new drivers, old drivers in new places, new Chevrolet body, teams with different manufacturers. There's so much unknown that I think a lot of people are going to be extremely aggressive this year and going for wins. So I think there will be at least 16 different winners. I should have added that to the slide. At least 16 different winners this year. Because there's so much uncertainty of new drivers, old drivers in new places, new manufacturers. So I think there's going to be at least 16 different winners in the Cup Series this year. Number 4, a low-funded team will win a race this season and make the chase. It hasn't happened. It didn't happen last year. The most recent time that happened was when Chris Buescher won the rain/fog delayed race at Pocono in 2016 and made the chase there. And really before that, it boils down to when Front Row Motorsports has been dominant at restrictor plate tracks. That's really been the only big-time success that any low-funded team has. Now, Matt Benedetto did great at Bristol for BK Racing a couple years ago, but really, that's when I look at low-funded teams, I don't consider teams like Richard Childress, who struggle, but they're funded. Richard Petty Motorsports, I do not consider them a low-funded team. I consider this Front Row, Go Fast Racing, BK Racing, Premium Motorsports, all those guys. I think one of them is going to either A, play the strategy game, or B, win a restrictor plate race or a road course and make it into the chase this year. Who that is, I'm in no position to predict that, but I think it will happen. Moving on, number 5. This is a prediction that obviously nobody wants this to come true, but I think this might happen. A major driver is going to get injured, and Matt Kenseth will return from retirement to replace that injured driver. Obviously, Cup Series cars are super safe, but there's still a chance. Eric Almirola last year. Kyle Busch has had multiple injuries. Denny Hamlin has had injuries. So there's still a chance. And Matt Kenseth is the most qualified person to come in and replace a person who gets injured this year. Kenseth finished, I think, 8th in the point standings last season. And if it's a Toyota, he knows that car. The Toyotas haven't changed. Aero kit's changed a little bit, but not substantially. He finished 8th in the point standings last year. And he doesn't have a ride. He wanted to have a ride, but he didn't. Joe Gibbs replaced him, and no major teams really wanted somebody who's old and would request a high-level contract. So I think he's going to come in and replace an injured driver this year. Who that is, there is no telling. But I think Matt Kenseth is the most qualified person to jump in and replace the guy, whether it be for a couple races, one race, or maybe half a season. We don't know what's going to happen. And I don't want this to happen. But I think it will. There's always usually one injury per season, sometimes more. 2016 we had the Dale Jr. incident. Kyle Busch, like I said, had the Xfinity crash a couple years ago. I think it's going to happen. Whether it's one race or a long stretch, I think it's going to happen. And Matt Kenseth is the most qualified person to replace. Moving on. Number 6. Chevrolet will win the Manufacturers' Championship. I've said this, with the new Chevy body, they're going to be so much more competitive this year. Obviously, Hendrick Motorsports struggled last season. Most of the Chevy teams struggled last season. But I think with the new body, they're going to be better than Toyota. Obviously, there's more Chevrolet drivers than Toyota, so that gives them an advantage in the Manufacturers' Championship. I think they're going to be there and win the Manufacturers' Championship this season with the new body and a lot of new drivers in that Chevrolet camp. There's Alex Bowman, there's William Byron, there's Bubba Wallace in the Chevy camp, I believe. So there's a lot of new drivers in that Chevy camp. So look for them to win the Manufacturers' Championship this season. Moving on, number 7. All Joe Gibbs Racing Drivers will win a race this season and make the chase. So, let's think about this. We already had all 4 Hendrick drivers, and now I say all 4 Joe Gibbs Racing Drivers, and in my opinion, I also include Martin Truex Jr. in that fold with the affiliation with Furniture Row. So really, all 5. So you think about Truex Jr., obviously last year's champion. I don't expect him to slow down. Kyle Busch, same situation, made the Final 4. I don't expect him to slow down. Denny Hamlin, he's won a couple races every year pretty much, so he's going to be fine. Eric Jones, going into the 20 car, I think is going to be extremely competitive. That 20 car is competitive, we know that, and Jones was decent in a brand new team last year at Furniture Row, so I think Jones will win a race. Now, the one guy who's just a huge question mark is Daniel Suarez. But if we look at Daniel Suarez's career, let's just look at the Xfinity Series. He struggled when he first entered the Xfinity season in his first season. What happened in the second season? He won the championship in the Xfinity season and replaced Carl Edwards in the 19 car and Cup Series. Is he going to do that? Probably not. But he's going to win a race, and he's going to be a lot more competitive and probably make the chase this year, even if he doesn't win a race. I think Suarez, he is such a good learner. I've never seen someone in NASCAR learn so much. It's so obvious that he's learned, because he struggled when he first ran in the Xfinity Series, when he came over from Mexico, and part-time in the Truck Series. He struggled at first. He kind of got there towards the end of the season, and then he won the Xfinity Championship in his second year. So I think he's going to be a lot more competitive this year in fighting for wins. Number 8. The Brickyard at the regular season finale will be terrible, and honestly I want to replace that with will be a disaster. Yes, the Brickyard developed a new winner with Casey Kang last season. Not a new winner, but a first-time winner in the season. But that race was terrible besides the last fuel mileage. The Brickyard is always terrible in the Cup Series, in my opinion. There's been questions of whether they should just get rid of it, period. Let Brickyard be an IndyCar thing only. And I've been in that camp. The Brickyard is terrible. What I think would fix it is if they adopt a similar strategy to what the Xfinity Series did and make the aero kit slightly different for the Brickyard, similar to what Daytona and Talladega have. Now, is it going to be a drafting pack race? No, but it allows people to suck up on a car and pass them. And that's what the Cup Series at the Brickyard desperately needs. That's what makes the Indy 500 so fun, because people are always passing. You get out to a second lead, the guy behind you drafts up on you and tries to pass you. That's what happens at the Brickyard in Indy cars. And the Xfinity Series replicated that very well last season. So I think this season, without those adjustments, the Brickyard is going to be the same old boring race, and the fact that they replaced Richmond, which is usually a pretty good race. Not always, but it's usually a pretty good race. Now, Richmond's going to be in the chase, which I think is a smart move, but replacing Richmond as the regular season finale with the Brickyard I see why they're trying to bring more interest into the Brickyard for NASCAR, but I don't think it's going to work out. I think it's just going to be the same old boring race. Even if guys want to try to get aggressive, they're not going to be close enough. They're always so spread out. They're not going to be close enough to do anything. The only way that it's going to be any sort of interesting is going to be if pit strategy happens, like Casey Kang did this year. That's the only way this is going to be interesting. And that's sad, unless if they change the aero kit to be similar to what the Xfinity Series has, which replicates, as intended or not intended, replicates IndyCar racing at the Brickyard so well. So the Brickyard as the regular season finale will be a disaster. Number 9, and the last normal prediction, the average age for Chase drivers will be under 30 years old. So, just to kind of give you some math, I did the math, but I forgot to write it down. Last year's Chase drivers were about 34 to 35 average years old. And that's with Jimmie Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Casey Kang, Kurt Busch, all those old guys in there. Now Matt Kenseth has retired. Will Kurt Busch be as competitive? Probably not. Jimmie Johnson, I think, will still be in there. But you look at some of the new drivers that are competitive. Well, actually, let's just look at the 9 drivers who I said already are probably going to be in the chase. The 4 Hendrick Motorsports and the 4+1 of Joe Gibbs and Furniture Racing. Suarez, Eric Jones, Young, Hamlin and Kyle Busch, young for their generation. They're still just over 30. So that's not going to sway the average very much. You look at Hendrick Motorsports. You got Jimmie Johnson. Yes, he's in 40, I think, or a little higher maybe. But then you have Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Alex Bowman. All young guys. And then you think about some of the other people who might be able to work their way in. They're young guys. You look at Stewart, Haas. Yes, Kevin Harvick is a little old. Kurt Busch and Clint Boyer are a little old. But then you have Eric Almirola around 30. You look at other competitive teams. Richard Childress, Austin Dillon's young. Yes, Ryan Newman's old, but Austin Dillon's young. Roush Fenway, Stenhouse is young. Bain is young. I'm sure I'm missing a major team in there somewhere, but I think the average age for Chase drivers will be under 30 this year. And that really signifies the youth movement that's going on in NASCAR right now. So, if you've made it this far, congratulations. If you skipped ahead, you've missed 9 very good predictions in my opinion. But now for the 10th prediction, who I think is going to be the 2018 NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series champion. And that person is Jimmie Johnson. Now, if you watched the entire video, you'll be like, Aaron, you've been talking about this youth movement the entire time. You just predicted that the Chase will be average age of under 30. You've been talking about all these new people. Yeah, Jimmie Johnson's still Jimmie Johnson. He always is going to be there. Last season was a struggle, but now with the new Chevy body and aero, Jimmie Johnson's going to be Jimmie Johnson still. Jimmie Johnson has won in like 4 different Chase formats. He's going to be there this year. And I think if there is a year that he wants to finally get that 8th championship, it's going to be this year. He's only got a couple years left. Maybe if he wins the championship this year, he'll retire. Who knows? But he doesn't have many years left to try to do it and become the winningest driver as far as champions in NASCAR. He doesn't have much time left. So I think he's going to be on a mission this year, especially with the new Chevrolet body. It might get off to a rough start, but I think he's going to be okay. And I think he's going to win the championship this season. So, guys, that's about 20 minutes worth of predictions for the 2018 NASCAR Cup Series season. I also just want to say, I mentioned this in my State of the Channel address, but I will be starting a weekly NASCAR vlog review kind of series. Probably going up on Monday of each week. Reviewing at least the Cup race for sure, but I'm going to try to review Truck and Xfinity as well. I'm going to try to put a lot of production into it, maybe have some guest analysts, and I'm going to really put a lot of effort into it. I think that'll bring a lot of new people who are interested in that stuff to the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Be sure to leave in the comments what you guys think will happen this year, whether I'm right or wrong in my predictions, and give me some of your predictions. Let's make this a game in the chat, in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think is going to happen this season. Am I right? Am I wrong? Who do you think is going to be the champion this year? Let me know in the comments, and I will try to respond to as many as possible. And with that said, I thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content from ATF Gaming, be sure to hit that red subscribe button and click that little notification bell so you get a notification every single time I post a video. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.